You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk all about generative AI and accessibility with my friend Ailsa. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're talking all about generative AI and accessibility with my friend Ailsa Leen. Ailsa, how you doing, my friend?
Very good. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be back on the AI show.
Fantastic. So tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Ailsa. I'm a design program manager on the Azure AI team, and I'm really fortunate because my job is focused on accessibility full time. So I spend all my time thinking about what kind of things we can do with AI for accessibility, and also how do we make sure that AI development tools are accessible for people with disabilities.
And I mean that's awesome. We had you on a year ago. I think it was like a year ago.
Yeah.
So why don't you help us like maybe get a framework for a mental framework for what accessibility actually means? Because it's a little bit more nuanced than if I remember right.
Yeah, good point. Not too nuanced, but let's define for everyone what accessibility is. So I have a slide, Seth, if you'd like to show it. Accessibility is really about making sure everyone can equitably access the things that are important for a fulfilling life, whether that is digital products, which is mostly what I work on, but it can be things like important government services or the built environment. It can be access to education, employment. Hopefully, it goes without saying that people with disabilities have the right to access all of those things just as much as people without disabilities. And so, what do I mean when I'm talking about disability? Right? There's sort of there are both visible and invisible disabilities. So many people will be familiar with the concept of vision disabilities, such as being blind or low vision, or hearing disabilities, such as being deaf or hard of hearing. But there's also like a whole gamut of other topics that get covered under the disability umbrella that might be invisible, such as being neurodivergent, or indeed having mental health conditions. Yeah, that's disability. It affects more of us than you would believe,
Yeah,
and that number is growing. We're all getting older, right, Seth? So
not you, just me. I mean, like even
I'm getting a little bit older too. And if we don't include this like large market of 1+ billion people, when we design and develop products and services, we're leaving them behind, and we're also missing out on people who might really benefit from the things we build.
yeah, and the other thing that I learned from you, if I remember right, was that the people have like permanent disability. Like I, for example, am really blind. If I don't have like contacts in, I can't see anything, and that's more of
Yeah,
a
me too.
permanent. But there's also temporary disabilities that you might have that would need accommodation. Like, for example, one time I tore something in my ankle and I had to go around in crutches, and I needed some accessibility. So it's not there's not like disabled people and not disabled people.
Mhm.
It's really about like where you are in your stage of life and what accommodations we might need.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And the other one I would add, on the spectrum from permanent, temporary to situational, is that kind of final one on the spectrum is, an example of a situational disability could be you're in a noisy bar and so you can't hear what's on the TV, and you don't even have a temporary hearing disability, but because of the situation you're in, the noisy room, you can't hear, and you will still benefit from captions, right? And so if you think about the market of people who are carrying something in their arms so they can't use their hands at any given moment, but they still want, conveniently to be able to open the door or something like that, right? There's just such a huge spectrum of people that accessibility impacts, and it just makes for better products.
Yeah, and I mean it's really cool. I turn captions on all the time now, which is really nice. It helps accommodate me a little bit better. So how
Mhm.
can AI help?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I'm here to talk about, or one of the things I'm really excited to talk about, Seth, is what's new in the world of AI since we last talked a year ago, and of course that's generative AI, right? And specifically tools like Copilot. Copilot is, like, I would say, our new mainstream assistive technology for everyone, right? So hopefully our viewers will know a little bit about Copilot already. Seth, would you say? Would you like to explain a little bit to us about where these Copilots show up? And
Yeah, I love the copilots are awesome. They basically, and the reason why I love the term copilot because I'm a big believer in that AI is designed to assist humanity, not replace humanity. And so copilot is really nice. And one of the copilots that I absolutely love is GitHub Copilot. I was using it today to help me write code, and sometimes writing code can be tedious because you got to take care of every situation. And GitHub Copilot really just writes stuff for me, and then I can go in there and be like, let's fix this and let's fix that. It's actually really cool, and it helps me do my job a lot faster and a lot better.
Right. And one thing to think about is you're probably doing a little bit less typing of code than you used to, right, Seth? So
Correct.
maybe if you had some sort of repetitive strain injury, or you had tired wrists and arms, or maybe even a mobility disability, that's going to be saving you lots of time too.
Yeah, and like I said, I love the idea of using the co-pilots to help me, even in different situations where I might be tired, I need to get something done, or it's noisy, etc. But Microsoft 365 Copilot has a lot of stuff too that I've been starting to use, like in Outlook and Word, etc.
Yeah. So how about we play a little video with some of our colleagues from the Microsoft accessibility team here, talking about how Copilot benefits them with their different disabilities. I think
Let's
it's
do it.
cooler to see than to talk about.
AI has a massive opportunity to help people with disabilities like me.
I'm going to show you some of my favorite features that help improve my productivity on the daily basis.
Jeremy Curry.
And I'll just go into Copilot and say, summarize this email.
Christina Mallon.
I'm able to really use my voice through the microphone and voice access that's built into Copilot. I say, tell me the changes in accessibility for the past month.
I'm going to launch Word.
Describe what you'd like to write, including notes or an outline, and Copilot can generate a draft to help you get started.
In this case, I'm going to ask it to write about the history of computer science.
History of computer science. Generate.
A draft.
One of the things that is challenging when you have dyslexia is writing. So to help with that, I will ask Copilot to write a draft email. I'm going to ask it to still keep my tone because I want it to sound like me, and I want it to be short, asking Mary to do a pre-read of the document.
Entering a prompt.
And is now generating a template email, which is short and sweet, which is a brilliant productivity enhancement for me.
When I think about generative AI, I think about things that I've done in my 20 plus year career in accessibility that we've not been able to do before now. And some of these things are literally life changing.
This process without Copilot usually takes an hour, but this took 3 minutes. It's important to give me the time back to work on the things that I love. And generative AI does that.
If you want to make AI more accessible and better for you, use it and provide feedback. I'm excited about the possibility that it will help bridge the disability divide.
Microsoft.
I mean, that's really cool. And I know some of those folks, awesome people that truly have a lot to give to this world, and giving these accommodations is just game changing for everybody.
Yeah, totally. There's two things I want to point out about this video, and how I think it shows that copilots can really be a game changer, not just for all of us, but in particular the disability community. So the first one is efficiency, right? Like, we're all excited about efficiency. That's what you were saying with GitHub Copilot, Seth. And there's a part where Christina Mallon, our director of inclusive design, is talking about how it takes her a much longer time to draft an email, or whatever it was she was doing in Word, than it might take somebody who has the use of both of their arms, right? Because she has dual arm paralysis. And so, honestly, like, for people with disabilities, there's a massive gap where, because our technology is not really designed with people with disabilities in mind, takes them longer to do things. The ability for Copilot to just help you get things done faster is going to be much more of a game changer for people who use assistive technology or have disabilities. The second part is adaptation, right? So Joanna on that video, who's dyslexic, talks about how she's able to have the AI correct any of her mistakes that she makes via dyslexia, or maybe even if she's reading complex documents, adjusting them for her reading level and needs. And that's really something that will benefit all of us, because what is Copilot but a tool that helps you adapt for your personal needs and situations? You can ask it what to do, and that's easier now because you don't have to build your own accessible assistive tools. You can just talk to Copilot, and so the ability to adapt things is more inherently accessible because all you need to do is be able to talk or type. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
excited.
that's the coolest thing, because I mean, like I said, that's even nice for people that may not think they need assistive technology. The
Right.
reality is we kind of all need assistive technology, whether it's a house, whether it's captions, whether it's anything really.
Yeah, I mean, our contact lenses are assistive technology, Seth, right? Like, what would we be without them? Wouldn't be able to get much done at work.
Yeah, that is true. So, are people putting this kind of technology into applications?
Yeah, there's some really exciting stuff coming up. So another one that I want to talk about is some new updates to Seeing AI.
Okay.
So hopefully folks are familiar with Seeing AI, or if you're not, it's a mobile application primarily for people who are blind or low vision that uses computer vision to describe the world around you. Right, incredible assistive tool, and now we have access to really enhanced computer vision capabilities more than the year before, thanks to Azure GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. So I have a couple of demos of the kinds of things you can do with these rich, improved vision descriptions.
All right, so let me bring the one up. The first one's Cakeshop, right? So
Yeah,
why don't you tell us
Cakeshop.
what we're going to see, and then I'll play it, and I might pause it and ask some questions.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, this is a simple one. It's GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, really great, rich descriptions thanks to generative AI, describing the built environment around the Seeing AI user.
All right, let's put it up.
The image shows a storefront with two large glass windows and a concrete.
So is this an app where you take a picture and it just starts telling you what's in there?
Yep, exactly. And before they were a lot simpler, the descriptions, and now you can see here some of the amazing detail that you can now get from these images.
And let's hear the voice
Foreground.
too.
The left window has a reflection of trees and a car parked outside. The text wedding cakes is visible on this window,
This is cool.
positioned centrally and is large enough to be easily readable. The right window displays an advertisement with text and a phone number.
And so, in theory, like this AI, if you're using GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, you're just taking a picture and sending it to the model, and then it's giving you all this stuff, and then you're enhancing it with another model to make it spoken.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of work goes in behind the scenes as well in terms of how to prompt the model for the kind of information that blind and low vision users might want, and so that's something that our Seeing AI team have been working on a lot behind the scenes as well.
This is really cool, and I remember, I think it was Saqib. I met him a while ago when he was making the Seeing AI stuff. He had like glasses or something that would tell him what was going on. Is this like an extension to that?
That's cool. That sounds very cool and experimental, and I guess we'll have to get Saqib on to learn more about what's happening with those wearables because that sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool. All right, so let me get the other one up here because there was another video. Why don't you tell us about that one?
Yeah. So the reason I like this next one is because it shows question and answering capability and the ability to ask. Because you could see from the first example, maybe that's more detail than anyone ever really needs to know about a picture
Yeah,
of a cake shop, right? So what's more useful than hearing all of that is being able to ask for what you are personally interested in, what you need.
I see. So let's take a look at this.
After scanning this restaurant menu in Seeing AI, what are the categories?
The categories in the document are antipasti, salads, pizza, with subcategories red and white, specials, and dessert.
What antipasti dishes are there?
There are 3 antipasti dishes mentioned in the document. 1. Oven roasted asparagus with paprika aioli, red onion.
I'm gonna pause here 'cause this is really cool because it's like a full multimodal experience where you have things that are seen, things that are typed, and then things that are heard all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And you couldn't do this with just computer vision, right? It needs that conversational capability. And then what makes it great on top of that is speech. So, yeah, I mean, the future is multimodal, right, Seth? And that's what really makes these experiences exciting
And it's almost
and
like
valuable.
like you're literally talking to the menu. I mean,
Yeah,
that's literally what you're doing, right?
yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm
Uh,
really excited about this.
so are there other folks doing these kinds of things as well?
Yeah, there's a couple of other cool examples I'd like to show you. And they're both AI for accessibility grantees. So Microsoft has an AI for accessibility program where we offer grants and Azure credits to certain organizations working to advance accessibility. And so one really, really cool customer that we're working with is called iWill. They're based in India, and India has a huge mental health gap. I think the gap is sort of 80% of people who need mental health support aren't getting the support they need, right? That's massive. And so they're working to bridge that gap with generative AI. But they've done it in a really thoughtful and interesting way. So first off, it's a Hindi-based app. So all of the kind of natural language conversations around mental health are in Hindi, which is a language that many people in India speak. And they are using a combination of rules-based cognitive behavioral therapy and generative AI. And so safety was really important to them, where they don't want like the ability for users who have mental health needs to have kind of these wide-ranging conversations with with the chatbot, where it could potentially put them at risk. And so there's a series of guardrails of when generative AI comes in versus rules-based CBT training, and even human in the loop if it seems like the person is in need of human-based counseling or therapy. So it's this really, well thought out kind of holistic solution around mental health. But of course, generative AI does help bring mental health to more people because there aren't enough humans to meet that gap in India. So they're doing some pretty cool stuff. They're using Azure OpenAI, and it's working great in Hindi for them as well. And they're also using Azure OpenAI Studio to bring some of that stuff together, including content safety filtering. So really, really cool use case, and I'm excited to see what they do next.
That's cool. Any others?
Yeah, one more I'd like to tell you about, and they're called Seaboard, also an AI for Accessibility grantee, and they're working on something called Alternative and Augmentative Communication, or AAC. And so what they have is a picture board app, and this is for people who might not communicate verbally, whether they have difficulty physically speaking, or if they choose not to speak or don't really communicate verbally due to other conditions such as autism. And so the founder of this product and company has ALS himself. So he uses Seaboard, which is an open source tool to communicate using eye gaze. And so he'll use eye gaze to pick from these picture boards. And, and you're picking kind of a number of nouns and verbs that add up to a sentence, but it's not necessarily like a fluid English sentence. So using Azure OpenAI, they can make that into like a much more kind of fluent sentence, instead of the words we have here, like I need to eat slow, right? It's going to turn that into a nicer sentence. And then the other part is they use Azure neural voices. So those really nice natural voices we've heard a little bit already in some of our demos mean that rather than speaking in a more traditional, slightly robotic sounding computer voice, now folks are able to be more expressive as well. So
yeah, and I love
very
that.
different things there.
I love how that generated voice can also be part of like someone's identity. Like Stephen Hawking's voice is Stephen Hawking's voice, and it's just amazing to hear him speak. Even though it was using an older model, there was newer stuff, later on. But that was part of his personality, and it's cool that you can use AI systems to like help assist you even with who you are personally.
Yeah, it's such an interesting one. Like the more range of natural voices we have, the more people can choose something to suit their identity, right? Like younger voices, in case somebody is a child and they don't want to use an adult sounding voice, right? That's going to be important to them. So yeah, the more natural voices we have, the more expressive they are and the more of a range, then it can be useful for more people and that identity part. Because like you said, it's not just about communicating, but it's about communicating as you.
That's true. Okay, so how does one, like, let's just say someone has some really cool accessibility ideas and they want to get started with AI to do that. How does one do that?
Well, I don't know if you've heard about this before, Seth, but we do have a one-stop shop for generative AI development called Azure AI Studio. And the thing I'm happy to tell you about Azure AI Studio is we've done a lot of work as a product team to make sure that tool is accessible. So I don't know if you've noticed, or maybe I didn't call it out, but a lot of the AI for accessibility examples we just talked about today, Seth. So Seeing AI, I Will, Seaboard, these were all created by people with lived experience in, disability or the problem they were tackling, right? Seeing AI is founded by Sakib and a bunch of other people, but he's, our main guy, and he's a blind engineer himself. Same with Seaboard and the founder, Martin, who has ALS, right? Or Martine. People who have lived experience are going to create a more authentic solution for the problem they're trying to solve. And we absolutely must have AI developers and innovators with disabilities building tools, because if they don't, they're not going to solve, and we're not going to have people solving the problems that are important in this space. And so that's why when we built Azure AI Studio, we made sure it's screen reader accessible, it's keyboard accessible. We're always thinking about how we can make it more inclusive for neurodivergent developers and different people. And a picture that I have on the right is, and folks should click through the link in the notes later. Anton is a developer who's been profiled by the GitHub team, and he has cerebral palsy. He talks about how GitHub Copilot has been like essential for him in his productivity, right? And so, we need to empower folks like Anton and others so that they can build the tools that they want to build to make change in the world. So that's why, it starts at the beginning. AI Studio is accessible too.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Guys, can you show us like how it works and what you can do with it?
I would love to show you. I am going to share my screen. So what you're seeing here is Azure AI Studio, and I'm in the playground view, which is where you can interact with models. The first thing I want to point out is I'm showing this screen in dark mode.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, well, thanks, Seth. So not all, if folks have used some of our other studio experiences in the past, such as Speech Studio and Vision Studio, we haven't quite had dark modes there yet, but this was something really important to us when we built Azure AI Studio for the first time as a new product, and something we also, got a lot of learnings from Azure Machine Learning, which has had a dark mode for some time. But that's really important as an accessibility tool for people with different vision disabilities. So, perhaps light sensitivity is a big one. People with certain neurodivergent conditions also prefer darker screens. And honestly, Seth, like many developers prefer dark screens of any kind, right? Because if you spend as much time looking at a computer as we do, you kind of get eye fatigue. So dark mode's good for the eyes. So inclusive feature.
That's cool.
So yeah, studio in dark mode, and I'm in the playground, and I'm going to show a couple of different things. So one is talking about an image like we saw in Seeing AI, like that's something you can explore and play with in AI Studio yourself using GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and also speech in the playground. So imagine I am a developer and I'm playing around the playground, and I have an image here of a chart. But maybe I'm a blind developer and I don't know what's in this image, or I'm at least testing to see what kind of capabilities our vision models have to describe this image. And maybe I also want to use speech in the playground at the same time. So I am going to turn on the microphone. What does this chart describe? Send that off. Cool. Yeah, interesting. And you can see, my speech was transcribed surprisingly well, and what was in the playground was read out to me. But I think I'm going to ask for a little bit more information because I don't know anything about what this chart is about, really. What is the most popular pet?
Well, that's debatable, but okay.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to show you, Seth. Just, if you're a developer, it's kind of two things here, right? You can use these tools for your own accessibility, right? If you prefer to explore the playground with speech and hear responses, if you want to test out and you can see the accessibility benefits of talking about images. But also, if you're a developer wanting to build accessibility into your apps, these are things you can do. You can use image description. You can add speech. So this is a great way to explore what speech capabilities we have, try different voices, play around a little bit, and think about putting voice capabilities into your own chatbots. So yeah, lots of exciting things to be done in AI Studio.
And this was just you using the studio without really doing much. I'm sure there's a ton of APIs that you can use to call these things and put them into your applications. But that's pretty cool. So where should folks go to find out more about this stuff?
Yeah, so we have a couple of links we can share. One is going to AI Studio itself. And we also have a blog post about the work that we did to build accessibility into AI Studio. And the other thing I want to tell you about coming up for folks watching this live is the Ability Summit is next week on the 7th of March. And that's a Microsoft-wide event. It's publicly available, a free online event for the disability community, people who work in accessibility, anyone who's interested and wants to learn more and engage on the subject of disability, accessibility, and inclusion. And there's such a great range of talks. Like Seth, you and I are kind of techie. We've been talking a lot about the tech stuff and what AI can do. And there's a lot of AI in the Ability Summit that people will get to learn about. But there's also talks about, policy and, the role that policy has in advancing disability inclusion worldwide. And what are we doing in our company internally for inclusion and, the workplace. And so there's a lot more than just what tech can do, because disability is a human condition, right? So I always really appreciate that side of the discussion because I spend so much time thinking about the tech. So it's a very well-rounded event and there'll be a lot of great people to learn from there.
Awesome. And if you're watching this after the fact, we'll put the videos to some of the content that was presented there below so that you can take a look at this. Well, thank you so much for being with us, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Seth, for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope you can tell I love talking about this stuff.
This is great stuff. Thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about generative AI and accessibility with my friend Ailsa Leen. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care.